My name is Jennie Brown, and I'm the Executive and Artistic Director of Picosa, and it is my pleasure to sit here with Augusta Read Thomas, who has been a very dear friend to the ensemble and to me for many, many years. And it's just a joy to be able to talk about the many ways that we've partnered together and collaborated together, and just to hear a little bit about your life as well. So welcome, Gusty. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Jen, and thank all your colleagues at Picosa. I feel very blessed to be speaking with you today.
Well, it's really wonderful for me. Gusty was one of the very first composers that we connected with when we first formed the ensemble, and since then we've performed 7 of her works, more than any other composer that we perform, and those include A Circle Around the Sun for violin, cello, and piano, Euterpe's Caprice for solo flute, Capricci for flute and clarinet, Plea for Peace for flute and string quartet, piano etudes, which are the very beginning of our work together, and Diagonals for a solo clarinet that was written for Russell Dagan, who also happens to be the former teacher of Andrea DiOrio, the clarinetist in our ensemble. And of course, the most significant work is Scat, which was for full ensemble, which was sort of the catalyst for working together. So, Gusty, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
About Scat?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. First of all, bravo to Picosa for all you're doing. I think you guys are absolutely fabulous musicians. You play with incredible nuance and craft, dedication, flair, technical prowess and skill. I think one of the many things I love about your performances, aside from all of that, is just the spirit. Like for Capricci with you and Andrea, it's like wham, boop, 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 it just takes off from the stage. And the solo flute piece you did, and Scat, is basically kind of jazzy, it has to have like spirit, So I love that, and allied to this technical skill, and not to mention that you're all fabulous people. So for me, this collaboration has been deeply meaningful, and I know it's going to continue for a long time because we're all really good friends. And you asked specifically about Scat. One thing I really appreciated was that Picosa commissioned the clarinet version.
Mm-hmm.
And it was originally, that particular instrument was oboe, and the piano part was harpsichord. And Picosa commissioned the version where the oboe changed to clarinet and the harpsichord changes to piano. And so it wasn't like a massive set of changes, but because the ranges are different and the colors are different, and really taking into account the low register of the clarinet that one wants to use if you have it, and the sort of clarino register, and how different that is from the oboe in many ways, and then the difference between the harpsichord and the piano vis-a-vis the use of the pedal, which is in many ways the sort of the soul of the piano. So for me, it was a really interesting transcription to make. Mm-hmm. And I'm so delighted that that version now has had many performances, because in some ways the clarinet piano version is more accessible to ensembles than the oboe harpsichord version. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I loved the world premiere. I remember we were in my apartment workshopping it, and that was super fun. So yeah, I'm just very grateful to all of you.
Well, thank you so much. And that piece has definitely lived on. I don't know at this point how many times we've even played it, because we played it so frequently. So that it's just been a lot of fun. And the piece it's tricky to put together. And so it's always rewarding to kind of, really kind of parcel it out and see how things fit together and everything. So thank you again.
Yeah, and the other world premiere that you, Jen, gave with your amazing colleagues was the alto flute version of Plea for Peace.
That's right, yeah.
And this is a very sort of soulful, quote, beautiful, lyrical, emotional work that was originally written as a vocalise for voice and string quartet. But I thought it would really work well for certain obligato instruments, such as the alto flute or the oboe, or a muted trumpet with a harmon mute, or even a cello, a high cello, sort of floating in and among the string quartet. So very meaningful to me is that you immediately, almost as soon as I wrote that piece, you heard the performance of the soprano version and went and did the alto flute version, which sounds amazing.
Well, that piece was really meaningful to me as well. I remember when I put my program together for my solo album, I just really wanted to include something by you, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what that was. And Plea for Peace was really just absolutely perfect. It was, the theme, of course, was dedicated to my grandmothers who had both survived the Korean War and all sorts of other difficulties throughout their personal and their country's history. And there was something about, not even thematically, well, including thematically a Plea for Peace, but just in the very kind of content of the music, it just seemed absolutely perfect. So I was so grateful to have that opportunity to be able to work on that. And of course, you and I worked on the regular flute version as well to compare. And boy, I honestly really could not choose between the two because they both worked so well. So thank you.
Yeah, I thought you sounded great on both the flute and alto flute version, but there's something just so haunting about the alto flute.
Very true.
And the way it blends with the cello and the viola and the violins. I love the flute version too, but this was just so poignant. And just you were mentioning about giantess and your grandparents and so forth. One of the reasons that I made a Plea for Peace as a vocalist is because it should be something that anybody of any culture, North Korea, South Korea, Africa, India, anywhere, you name it, Tibet, Bangladesh, when you just have a vocalist, it's totally human. You don't have to translate a language or have a poet write the words. And in a way, it becomes enormously universal.
Right.
But at the time that I wrote Plea for Peace, I spent 6 months looking for texts.
I can imagine.
About this or that or the other thing, and should it be in Japanese? Should it be should it be ancient? Should it be modern? Should I write a text? And when I finally thought, I should make a vocalise, it was like a light bulb clicked. And for that reason, because the whole premise is that this should be able to speak right to this human core, right to the stomach of a listener, I think that it really works well with all these different soloists playing the part. And it's like 6 minutes. It's a little recital piece. But I was just so happy that you did it.
Wow, that's even more poignant. Now I'm even happier that I have it. Well, I wonder if we can jump topics a little bit and if we can just take a couple minutes talking about you and all of the amazing things that you've done, both as a composer and as a visionary. I think without question, the name Augusta Read Thomas conjures up so many different ways that you've impacted the field for just, I think the legacy will just continue for many, many, many years to come. So I wonder if you could just speak to us a little bit about that. And I guess maybe what I would start with is what would be sort of the moment in your life that you realized that you could do so many different things in the field? I mean, certainly your reputation and the esteem with which you're held as a composer goes without saying, but you've impacted the field in so many different ways, and it just seems to come from this very generous part of you and your personality. And so I wonder if you could maybe start with what was the catalyst that made you realize that was meant to be sort of your professional destiny.
Oh, well, I wasn't expecting to talk about myself today, to be honest, but I appreciate the question. And, I've been a composer since I was a little girl. Like, I used to lie underneath the piano, and just listen to the sounds and make up songs. I have all these little songs I wrote when I was 4 and 5 that last a bar. It's like, plink, that would be my song, And then I wrote tons of juvenilia and so forth. So I've been obsessed about music my whole life, literally my whole life. I grew up as a performer. I played piano starting at about age 4, and then I took up trumpet in 3rd grade. There's a sort of a story behind that, but I was a trumpet performance major. I'm not a composition major. I got a degree in trumpet performance, and I was very, very active as a performer. And I think that brings such a huge empathy from me to the performers, because that's where I come from. But I was also, singing in choir, playing guitar, playing in jazz band, all state orchestra, all state band, all of that. But all along there, I was also composing. And little by little, over about 20 years, I kind of morphed into a composer. But I'm so glad I had the experience of being a soloist, playing piano alone, which I still do every day. And then playing in ensembles and understanding, like, what's fun to play? What do you want the parts to look like? And what does the musician need to know? And clean notation, which is a hallmark of my whole body of work and so on. Anyway, so there's like this composer. And then I started teaching very young because I don't have a master's degree and I don't have a doctorate. I shouldn't really admit that, but I don't. So I went right into teaching at the Eastman School of Music extremely young. I was younger than my own graduate students that I was teaching.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I'm on my 28th year of teaching already. And I also teach at Tanglewood in the summers and Aspen and June in Buffalo and other festivals. So I've been teaching enormously. So anyway, composer is like this, and then the teacher kind of synchronizes in. But about 30, I don't know, 25 years ago, I just thought, I should be giving back. And if I've been so obsessed about music and I'm trying so hard to help my students, what if I add to those two circles a third circle, which we could just call generally maybe citizenship or whatever you want to call it. And, so way back, I was the chairman of the board of the American Music Center, which is now New Music USA. But I mean, it's a huge job and it's a volunteer job, as I know you know. And then I was on their board for 10 years. And then when I became the composer in residence for the Chicago Symphony, at the invitation of Mr. Boulez and Mr. Barenboim, I did that for a decade, and I wrote the proposal. I actually sat in my little laptop and wrote the proposal for Music Now, and I presented it to the donors, and we were funded beautifully by Joan Harris and Cynthia Meade Sargent and Sally Sargent Hands, the Meade sisters. And so really was very involved in birthing Music Now. And then I had this crazy idea that we should have a huge citywide festival called Ear Taxi Festival, which I spent 3 years of my life on. Almost killed me, that one. And now I've founded a center at the University of Chicago, which supports visiting composers, visiting ensembles, postdoctoral fellowship in contemporary composition, which I think is the only one of its kind exclusively for that, and formed an ensemble called the Grossman Ensemble. And so far, our Grossman Ensemble, we've done 36 commissions. I mean, we have a huge track record of putting out new work. And then I also serve I'm the vice president of the American Academy of Arts and Letters, and I'm on the Copeland board, and I'm on the Ditson board. Anyway, so there's a million things in that citizenship circle, which is volunteer work. It's not like that's just a thing I'm doing, but to me, it seems like these circles sort of overlap. Mm-hmm. And I could just do me, like I'm very, very busy. But what if I spend 30 or 40 years giving back in little ways that I'm trying hard to do, and really do it for other people, let them get the commission, they get the prize, they get the residency, they get the money, whatever. Like just try to link up the people who can help support this and partner with them in order for me to be a catalyst to move that resource to other artists. And you do that for a decade or two or three or four, and hopefully it has ripple effects that really help people tangibly. And I never program myself or commission myself or buy myself a cup of coffee or anything like that. It's all this is just going straight to these other artists, which is what it should do. And so I feel blessed to at least make efforts every day to try to help. And I think really everyone should be. If we all really put a lot of effort into helping everybody else, then the whole field comes up. The problem is it's just very time consuming and it's all volunteer. So you really have to kind of commit in your mind to making it a part of every day or every week. That was a very long answer, but that's sort of the whole backstory. It's not just sort of one thing or now we'll do another thing. It's a 30-year project so far.
Well, it's interesting that you use the word ripple effect, because that's so much what it's like. The idea of the rising tide lifts all ships, and the idea of stagnating water versus moving water. And, I think when I think about the impact that you've had on the field, it's bringing that sort of motion to everything, and it's this very community centric sort of life philosophy, which I think is it's so it's just really having an impact on so many people. And you know what I think is particularly fun, I know you and I have talked about this before, but I was a grad student at Eastman when you came on board as faculty, and I remember those days. And it's just amazing to see all the ways that your career has, in some ways, remained on this singular trajectory of just excellence and innovation, but at the same time morphing into all these different avenues as well. It's been really wonderful to see.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things I've learned over 30 years of doing this, I've learned a lot about the profession and all these foundations that I volunteer for, and building my own things where I'm helping people directly and so forth. You know, it's like a whole, it could be a whole career just in itself. But
yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's a lot to kind of unpack. So I'm starting to feel like I've you know, after several decades, 30 years of doing this, you start to have some ideas. And one of the ideas that I have lived by, you know, especially when feasible and as much as possible, is just to engage with people who are excellent and trust them to do what they do. Like, say, can you help me with this project? Here's what you're going to do. Either you want to do it, great. This is what we can pay you. Boom, go. And, you know, really empower other people to kind of not mentor me or me mentor them, but I'm trying, you know, but like sort of allow other people to really bloom, because it's important to get other people that are going to be able to see what they could do, and to trust them to do it, and to do it well. And I think when you're working with people and you as a leader are empowering people and making everybody equal and paying everyone the same amount and everything's transparent, people, you really build trust, because people know you're just doing it, you're just doing it to help everyone else. So there's no like agenda. And I think that's just really clean. And, you know, it makes it, yeah, there's no, it's just very clean. There's no hidden agendas. Like, here's the deal. Let's do it. We want to do it. Let's do it. Okay, here we go, guys. Go team, go team, go team. That's one of my, you know, let's get this thing done, and off we go. And a lot of people, including yourself, you know, we're all continuing on that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that mentality really pervades very clearly everything that you do, which is so terrific. And now, of course, we're embarking on Ear Taxi Festival for 2021. And there's so much of what you established in 2016 that is really laying down the foundations for being able to move forward. And again, it's that momentum that you've provided and that you continue to kind of feed into the whole field, which has just been really impactful.
Yeah, and I mean, Ear Taxi 2016 had a lot of people working on it. It was an excellent team. Stephen Burns, Reba Caffarelli, John Bierbussy, and I mean, the list is way too long.
Right.
Not to mention about 500 artists and all the organizations in the city. I mean, it was a massive collaboration. So that's a huge one, like go team for sure. Because
right.
I don't really, there's a lot of people that deserve a lot of thanks. And now that you and Michael Lewanski are running ETF 2021, every time I write you, I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think the thing I've said to you the most, to both of you, is take care of your health. Take care of your health, because it was such a huge project. I was on red alert for like 2 years, because I had like 400 people emailing me, and here's my bio, and here's my program note, and oh, I want to change my thing, and oh, and how about this and that. You know, it was just so many emails a day, hundreds a day, that I was just trying to like keep up like a mouse on the treadmill. And it can be profoundly exhausting when something like that goes on for years.
Right.
So take care of your health. Now I sound like your grandmother, but that would be my major advice.
Well, we're heeding that advice, so don't worry about that. And of course, we've got a third partner in Jessica Wolf, who's also contributing so much as well. But the three of us have been it's just been a wonderful partnership. So we're looking forward to 2021. So
Me too. I'm going to go to every concert.
oh, well, that would be great. Of course, of course. Well, Gusty, thank you so much for your time. This has just been a delight as always, and I just remain so grateful, just on a personal level for your friendship, and on a global level for all the many ways that, again, that you're contributing just to our artistic world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and likewise. And I'll see you soon.
Jennie Brown, and I am the Artistic and Executive Director of Picosa. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'd love to invite you to support the great work of our ensemble, bringing great music to the stage, the traditional favorites that we all love, some new gems, and especially music by Chicago-based composers. Visit our website to learn more about the ensemble, and you'll find an opportunity to donate and to stay in touch. Hope to see you at a live concert soon. Thank you.